Hello world, it's Austin. Let's talk about being transgender and Christian. So welcome to Holy Week if you're part of the Western Church. If you're part of the Eastern Orthodox Church, your Holy Week doesn't start till April 24th. This week has more holidays, or holy days, than any other week in the church year. We begin with Palm Sunday, where we celebrate Jesus riding into Jerusalem on a donkey, and we continue with Maundy Thursday, which celebrates the Last Supper, and then Good Friday, which is when Jesus dies, a confusing name for the day, I know, and then you've got Holy Saturday, and then you've got Easter Sunday. Anne Lamott, a Christian writer, once said that as Christians, we are Easter people living in a Good Friday world. What she meant by that is that as followers of Jesus, we are able to live a life full of hope and full of resurrection even when terrible things are happening all around us. Terrible things like the families that are split apart by the war in Syria, or the women who live in fear of Boko Haram in Nigeria, or the school kids that are killed by gun violence every year in schools in the United States. As Christians and as Easter people, we know that death does not have the last word. But I don't want to talk to you about Easter today. I want to talk to you about Holy Saturday, the most forgotten day in Holy Week. It's the day after Jesus dies and the day before the resurrection, and in fact, in the 4 gospel accounts we have of Jesus' life, only one of them mentions anything happening on Holy Saturday. The Gospel of Matthew tells us in chapter 27 that that was the day that the order was given that guards should be stationed outside Jesus' tomb so that nobody could steal his body. Other than that, it doesn't seem like anything really happened. And of course, there was a good reason for this. It was Saturday, which was the holy day of rest for the Jewish people. It was the Sabbath. So all of Jesus' friends and family members and disciples, they were all resting. They were all observing the commandment to rest on the Sabbath day. But imagine what kind of rest that was. These people had just witnessed their friend and their brother and their son and their teacher. They just witnessed Jesus die in one of the most horrific ways possible. And even though Jesus had dropped a ton of hints about the resurrection, nobody really knew what to make of it since it kind of hadn't really happened before. Everybody thought that Jesus' story was over. Nobody expected that anything else was going to happen. Can you imagine being one of Jesus' disciples on that day? It would have been devastating. And here's the thing, as much as I like the metaphor about us being Easter people living in a Good Friday world, I think for transgender Christians, we are more like Easter people living in a Holy Saturday world. As trans people, we tend to spend a lot of our time in between. And especially early on, as we figure out our gender identity and as we come out and as we maybe seek to transition in some ways, we tend to spend a lot of our time waiting. Waiting for therapist appointments, waiting to come out to certain people we're nervous about talking to, waiting for a doctor's letter, waiting for family to catch up on the name and pronouns thing. And sometimes it just seems like there's no end in sight, like there's nothing that we can do and we're just sort of stuck in this place forever, and maybe this is just kind of as good as it gets. We start to worry that there's no new life on the other side of these difficult experiences. And even though we're Easter people inside, and I so want to just spend all my time reminding you that it's not really over, I think it's also really important to spend a little time and just be in that Holy Saturday space. It's important to give ourselves and others the space to just feel our feelings for a while. Coming out as trans is often difficult, and we face strained and broken relationships, and it's really important to take the time to mourn those losses and to reach out to other people. There are bad dysphoria days, and there are days that we get harassed by strangers, and there are days that we find out that our insurance won't cover the medical care that we need. There's the fear of physical attacks and of transphobic slurs if we show the world who we really are. It's really important in these situations to let ourselves have the time to feel what we need to feel, to reach out when we need help, to find people to talk with and to pray with, and people who can help remind us that the story isn't over. Holy Saturday can be a really hard place to be. We want to just jump right into Easter, but it's also a really important place to be. So I hope this year you get a little bit of time to just be in Holy Saturday. It can be kind of an uncomfortable place. It's a little bit like if you've ever done yoga or if you have ever stretched after doing some sort of physical activity, that moment of just slowing down and taking some breaths and stretching your body and letting your body just be, that's really important. It's really healthy. It's a good thing to do. So I hope you get a chance to do that this year. Rest assured that even as you take the time you need to mourn or to just be with your feelings or to reach out, the sun is still going to rise on Easter morning. Remember that God always gets the last word. Remember that in Jesus' resurrection, the promise is that the night will never last. so you can feel safe and secure in that uncomfortable place of Holy Saturday, because everything really is going to be okay. I'm going to be back next week to talk more about the resurrection and Easter and what that means for us, but for now, just let yourself take a couple breaths and just be in Holy Saturday, be in Holy Week. Remember that even Jesus' disciples during the first Holy Week, even they still remembered to rest and to take that Sabbath time, so I hope you get to do that too. Thanks for watching, friends. I'll see you back here next week. Don't forget that there is a link in the description if you want to sign up for the Trans and Christian weekly newsletter that comes to your email inbox with a resource and information about what's going on in the world, so definitely check that out. We will see you back here next Wednesday. Peace, everybody.